Good morning, everyone. Today is February 19th, Friday. Welcome to a Board of County Commission special meeting. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Manager Tom Stoles.
Good morning, Commissioners, and we'll have the Chairman. You want to go ahead and go? And
call it order?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, welcome everybody. This is a special meeting of Friday, February 19th at 8:30 a.m. So we will call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Roll call. Commissioner Lopez.
Present.
Commissioner Dennis.
Present.
Commissioner Howell.
Present.
Commissioner Cruz.
Present.
Chairman Meitzner.
Present. Next item, please.
New business. Item A, discussion of the proclamation declaring a state of local disaster emergency.
Okay. Is that the order we're going to go in?
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate that. Good morning, Commission. Tom Stoles, County Manager here. We have a singular item for the agenda of the special meeting this morning, as announced by the clerk. And I'll start this off by saying that Commissioner Dennis had received a letter from the staff at Cheney in western Sedgwick County. And this came after we've seen a lot of discussion nationally and regionally about escalating natural gas prices and electric prices. Cheney sent this letter to Mr. Dennis, and we'll provide copies for the Commission on February 17th of 2021, and I'll just highlight it very quickly. It's about a page and a half. But the City of Cheney operates a natural gas utility of 796 utility meters surfacing over 2,100 residents and 83 businesses. They do business with, along with other 48 other cities in Kansas. They utilize the Kansas Municipal Gas Agency to purchase all of their natural gas. They have been informed on February 12th, natural gas was purchased for our gas utility for the weekend and federal holiday on the index of 329 MMBTUs, and that stands for metric million BTUs, which is over 100 times the normal pricing for natural gas. This goes on to talk about the financial ruin this could cause for small municipalities if, in fact, they have to pay that amount for gas prices, basically. With this kind of information, KDEM reached out to our local emergency management staff on Wednesday of this week, right after our BOCC meeting, actually, and recommended that the county, if we have these kinds of small cities impacted by potentially catastrophic natural gas prices for their jurisdiction, that they recommended that the county declare a disaster declaration, which the chairman signed on early Wednesday afternoon, and we publicized thereafter. What we want to discuss in this meeting, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Papoon from the counselor's office here, is the ratification and the discussion of this declaration, particularly how long we want the body wants the declaration to last, and Mike can also answer specifics legally about the meaning of this declaration. So that's the purpose of this first discussion. Mike.
Thank you, Tom. Mike Papoon, County Councilor, for the record. This morning you have before you a proposed resolution by the Board of County Commissioners declaring a state of emergency in Sedgwick County. As you're aware, the chairman a couple of days ago on Wednesday signed a declaration of disaster. He did this under the authority of the Kansas Emergency Management Act. And as part of that act, the authority for that resolution is limited to 7 days. And after the 7 days, it has to either be, it can only be continued on behalf of by the majority vote of the county commissioners. The authority for such declaration comes from KSA 48-904, and as part of it, the definition of a disaster includes storms such as we've had, this unnatural cold front that we've had, and ice and snow that have caused so many problems in our district. I can tell you that as of this morning, we understand that 12 other counties in our region have a similar declaration of disaster. And as I said, the chairman's authority only lasts 7 days, and we thought that it was probably prudent on our part, not knowing exactly how this resolution may affect us in the future for possible funding from FEMA or other agencies, to go ahead and continue it indefinitely. The resolution you have before you, I made a couple of changes. It should be in, one of the changes I put in ink in talking to the county engineer and public works director, Mr. Weber. He wanted to add snow and ice control as part of the third whereas paragraph on some of the issues that we've obviously been dealing with in this county. Weather conditions, water damage, water main breaks, need for water warming stations, and then we've added snow and ice control. We've also added at the end of the resolution a sentence that says the resolution shall become effective upon adoption by the Board of County Commissioners. And this final draft of the resolution will be given to the clerk this afternoon for you, for the commissioners to sign. The reason we have put this effective upon adoption, just as a little tutorial here, when state statutes give county commissioners the authority to adopt a resolution, then those resolutions become effective upon adoption. When you create resolutions by your home rule authority, we publish those resolutions and they become effective upon publication. But since the emergency management statutes clearly give you the authorization to declare this disaster, local disaster, this resolution becomes effective upon your adoption this morning, if you so choose. So with that, the resolution's in proper form. We'd ask that you adopt the resolution, and the motion would be adopt the resolution with the changes of snow and ice control, and that the resolution becomes effective upon adoption. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. A couple other pieces of information. Once we received this letter, we talked to both Commissioner Meitzner and I talked directly with Congressman Estes, and I submitted a letter to Congressman Estes. I also sent the letter to Senator Moran's office and Senator Marshall's office, and they've acknowledged receipt of it, and they're working, trying to find out what they can do to help. In addition, the governor has written a disaster declaration also that supports this. So there are a lot of people working, trying to help out these organizations. As Tom Stoltz mentioned, the cost of gas has gone up a lot. Part of this letter says that they were paying $1.90 per metric million BTU. The latest price was $622.78. So it went up considerably, and that's going to put a severe hardship on these communities. Another community in our county that we're aware of is in Commissioner Cruz's district, is up in Keachai. So there are at least 2 cities that we know of in Sedgwick County that are having problems with this. So I strongly support this resolution, and at the proper time, I wouldn't mind making a motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions or comments? I agree. For Commissioner Lopez, this is not a normal course of business that we do, but these we did one before, and I think it's rare, but it's a state of emergency that mainly allows these municipalities to pursue any federal programs that might be available financially. So it just that's the gist of it. It's not a financial obligation by us by any means at this time. So with that, I'll make or you can make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Board of County Commissioners pass the proclamation declaring a state of local disaster emergency.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any other comments? I don't see any. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lopez?
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz?
Aye.
Chairman Meitzner?
Aye.
And
Motion
if I
carries.
could, Commissioners, I want to point out that Justin Wagner in my office put this together very, very quickly. The governor's office has also issued the same disaster proclamation, did that earlier this week. And Justin, in working with our emergency management folks, worked very hard, all of them, to try to come up with the proper language for this resolution. Just wanted to make that comment.
All right. And Tom, anything else?
While we have you all here,
Right.
Chairman, and just to kind of recap the events from yesterday and kind of where we stand today regarding vaccinations. Sorry. All of you were at the library yesterday with the announcement that we would be moving the mega site from Intrust Bank Arena to that location. And that we would also, there was also an announcement made yesterday that we would begin to emphasize the vaccination of K through 12 teachers. Whenever we shift populations that we're serving with vaccinations within the community, we have other subgroups of phase 2 and some phase 3 contact us and wonder if they're included in that group. So I just want to clear that up today, what the scope of the county is today regarding vaccinations and kind of how we're moving forward into the future. Effective today, we are still vaccinating the 70-plus population in Sedgwick County. With the news of yesterday and the extra vaccinations earmarked from the governor's office for K through 12 teachers to the number of about 3,500 per week. We have now also added that particular group into our emphasis right now for vaccination. We've had some discussion, and just the numbers we are hearing currently is we will continue to receive 7,000 vaccinations per week. The 3,500 from the governor brings that to 10,500, 3,500 of which is earmarked for K through 12. And there's also 1,000 vaccines going to pharmacies earmarked for K through 12 within Sedgwick County. So there's 4,500 vaccines for K through 12, and at least week 1, we're looking at this as a 3-week kind of process. We have about 12,000 teachers and staff in Sedgwick County that have said they want the vaccine, and that's out of a population of about 15 to 16,000. So if we can get 4,000 to 4,500 vaccines focused on K through 12, we think we can get everyone first shot within 3 weeks. That's our goal. And of course, it all depends on if we truly do indeed get the vaccinations. For the other groups and everyone else that is wondering now about the remainder of phase 2 population, Tim Kaufman and I are in almost daily contact with Dr. Menz. He is working through that. He will try to make decisions as we move below the population of 65 and above, which is a priority in phase 2. He will make decisions based on medical information and how this virus spreads and works for the remaining population within that phase 2. When he makes that decision, we will convey that to the Board of Health, and Board of Health can take whatever action they deem appropriate after that time. That's kind of how this has been going from the beginning. The staff is not making the decision on this. Dr. Menz is making the decision. We convey his decision-making and to the Board of Health, and then we have Dr. Menz report out to the Board of Health as well. So that's kind of the plan going forward. It's the answer as we get emails about when are we going to be next, because there's several groups that want to get the vaccine. But that's probably the best answer we can have the Board of Health give right now to the citizens to the citizens who are asking that kind of question. But with that, Tim or I are available for questions, and then we can go from there.
Manager, I have a question regarding how many vaccines did you say the state was receiving next week?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I can't. Repeat, please.
How many vaccines is the state of Kansas receiving next week?
From our understanding, and Tim, I'll let you chime in as well, they are receiving the same allotment that they have been getting. I don't know that we have any information that they're getting new vaccine. You want to go?
The last information I had was that I think I heard the number 90,000.
Okay.
90,000 vaccines from the state of Kansas.
To the state of Kansas.
To the state of Kansas, excuse me. And so the Sedgwick County is only receiving 7,000 of those for our 70-plus population.
That is the last information that we have gotten, and then the 3,500 additional for K through 12. So,
Right, but those are only allocated for teachers. So the 70-plus population is only 7,000 out of the 90,000 that the state of Kansas is receiving.
I'll have to verify that again with staff.
We had gotten a mix, I'll just be honest, we had gotten a mixed message on that. We had heard 90,000 last week, which was made up of 80,000 plus 10,000 through the federal pipeline directly to pharmacies. So we were lobbying for more vaccine in Sedgwick County, but Seth Conkle has looked into that, and the part of the problem is the 80,000 was based on the fact that it's a 2-dose vaccine. So we think the more accurate number is probably 40,000. As Tim mentioned, we'll get clarity on that and put that out to the Board of Health. So we don't really know what we're getting next week, except we know at least it's going to be 7,000 plus the 3,500. And
Okay,
that's what
so
we're basing
then-
our
Okay,
math
thank you
on.
for that. So after, so going back to when Dr. Mins makes a decision, will the Board of Health be convened in a meeting so we can all discuss this once his decision has been made?
Yes. Right now, and we anticipate for at least the next 2 to 3 weeks, we will be full focus on 65 and above. Now, today, we are only doing 70 and above, and the staff is watching the amount of appointments hitting the system, and when we begin to see a gap, we will then open that aperture to 65 and above, so we maintain full appointments throughout this process. There are 25,000 or so people in Sedgwick County that are 65 to 70, so we anticipate a couple of weeks at least to service that population, and we've already said it'll take about 3 weeks to get first shots into teachers. So in about 3 weeks, Dr. Mins we will move from the age-gradiated decision to the job-gradiated decision, and Dr. Mins will have a plan for that, and we will be presenting that to the Board of Health sometime in the next 3 weeks.
Okay, and that will be a discussion that will be an open meeting in
Yes.
front of everyone?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Not good at holding these little mics without making a bunch of noise. So I ended up speaking to Adrian yesterday afternoon just for other reasons and kind of asked her while I had her a few questions. And from my understanding was Kansas is getting that many because there were so many, because of the weather challenges. And so next week we would be getting double
Yeah.
and then the 3,500 on top of that. So we won't just necessarily get the 7,000, but we'll get this week's and next week's. So we'll have like 14,000, is that right?
Some of that is correct. We did not receive a shipment this week because of the weather. So we anticipate we will get that shipment plus next week's normal shipment plus 3,500. So that's 7,000 that we never got this week. We expect, as far as we know, to get 7,000 next week, and then the 3,500 on top of that. So we should be, hopefully, if the weather clears, we will be getting a good supply of vaccine early next week, which will allow us to extend into the future with appointments, because today, the way we set, all vaccine we have on hand is spoken for through appointment, and we are at 0 appointments available right now because we only have enough vaccine in hand and presently here to make that kind of appointment. So hopefully that will happen early next week.
Okay. Do we know if the 3,500 was supposed to start this week, but because of the weather, they're pushing it back to next week?
It was my understanding and I just talked with Seth about this morning, it was my understanding that 3,500 would come next week. That was the
Okay.
plan from get-go. So
Okay.
we're beginning to aggressively work with the school districts to schedule appointments, and each of the districts will have a little bit different plan on how they're going to administrate the vaccine within their district, but we're beginning to plan for that and beginning to identify numerically how many vaccines we can give to each district, cycling this through and understanding that everybody's not going to get the vaccine in week 1. It will take a 3-week process at the numbers that were given to give all teachers and staff a first shot.
And we're going to go by percentage of district or percentage of the city that they're in, or how's that
We
gonna be
have,
broken out?
we have the demographics for each district in Sedgwick County, how many within that population want the shot. We know we're basing the mathematic on 3,500 to 4,000 doses of what their percentage would be, because we're going to do this fairly and equitably and transparently. Now, if that number changes, we will adjust that. And then we also have, schools within the county that are not affiliated with the district. There are some private schools, and we have to also encompass them in. That would be a group separate, but they will also be receiving vaccines.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to stop by USD 259's site tomorrow just to make sure that everything's going as smoothly, and just if the county can help in any way, check that out and hopefully because they had such a great plan in place already. Maybe we can bring some of that to the other ones, but I'll let everybody know, I guess, on Monday what that looked like. So, thank you.
Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Chairman. Just to clarify, you said 12,000 teachers and staff
That want the vaccine,
that want the vaccine. And now is that for all of the districts that come into Sedgwick County?
yes.
So they need 24,000 vaccines when you count the double dose.
I'm sorry.
Each one of them has to have two doses.
Yes, they
So
all.
that's 24,000
Yeah,
doses, right?
correct.
You divide 24,000 by 3,500, that's about 7 weeks.
Well, we're looking at shot one. The goal is to get shot one into all teachers within 3 weeks. And then we will have to repeat said process 28 days after shot one. And it's
I just wanted to clarify, so we're not going to be done with this, it's going to be about a 7-week process, even at that
absolutely
rate.
for full vaccination, yes, sir.
Very good. And then we talked the other day about, I guess 259, I think, has 2,400 doses of the Moderna, and there was some discussion about, reserving that for 70 and over. I think that age limitation has been thrown out for the schools. So are they going to be starting to get at least 1,200 of those doses into their whatever staff they choose immediately?
Yes. So of the 12,000 vaccines that we need to get everyone a shot one, we already have, essentially, we sent 2,400 Moderna vaccines to 259, of which that gives them the ability to serve 1,200 clients because they have to hold the Moderna for shot two. So that takes away from that number. Now we're down to 10,000, and then we know that the vaccines are coming to pharmacies. That takes another 1,000 down. So we think from county vaccines, we're looking at a number of about 10,000.
All right, that's all my questions. Thank you, Manager. Thank you, Chairman.
Commissioner Dennis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To follow up on Commissioner Cruz's question on whether we were going to get 18% of the vaccines that are coming into the county, a week ago, KAC put together a briefing where Dr. Nielsen was briefing all of the commissioners across the state. And we had an opportunity to submit written questions ahead of time, and I submitted a very simple question ahead of time. Sedgwick County has 18% of the population. Are we going to get 18% of the vaccines? During the briefing, she didn't answer that question, and then Commissioner Lopez went on the chat function and put that exact question in again. Are we going to get 18%? She gave a non-answer at that point. So I went back to KAC and expressed my concern that we weren't getting an answer to a very, very simple question. And so yesterday, I did get a response from KAC. I sent it over to the manager. He can give it to the rest of the commissioners. But truly, that answer was either written by a very slick politician or by an attorney. I can't tell which. But it was a very lengthy answer that gave absolutely no information. So I'm a little disturbed that we can't find a very simple answer to a very simple question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And if I could add on to that, after we spoke to her on that meeting, they had said that they were getting about 80,000, and so that's where my confusion was, because if they were receiving 80,000 already, then we would, if we were going by percentage, would be under 50% of what we should have received. But since then, we've had clarification that they're only receiving 40,000 or had only been receiving 40,000. So for us to have that 7,000 was about right for the 18%. I mean, not perfect, but they said they had an algorithm that included all kinds of different things and not just population. But after hearing that there had only been 40,000 coming to the state, I feel at least a lot better about what we've received so far. But as they're starting to get more, I think it'll be important to ask those questions again and make sure that we're getting the right amount.
Commissioner Cruz?
Thank you, Chairman. Tom, can you clarify teachers for us so that the public understands who that includes?
That will be all K through 12 teachers, public and private, within Sedgwick County.
So teachers does not include bus drivers?
It does include bus drivers.
Okay,
There's
so be
teachers and staff.
specific, because I think that's important for us to understand. So teachers is all encompassing, meaning ancillary staff,
Correct.
meaning bus drivers that aren't employed with the district. They're
That is
employed
correct.
by First Students, so they are included. Anybody I'm missing? I think that's a real distinct clarification that needs to be made.
It is, so each school has a plan, and that does also include cafeteria, janitorial, anyone who is in the school environment. That is the staff part of that discussion, so it includes all of that population. Our question that was answered yesterday was on bus drivers with 259. That is actually a third-party provider that provides transportation for 259 kids. And we got clarification that they are included in this group as well. So we moved them from a transportation phase 2 grouping up to the K through 12 grouping. So that staff is included now as well.
Okay, so please address the question around pre-K.
Pre-K is definitely in phase 2. They are not part of the earmarked vaccines that the governor laid out yesterday. So as we conclude, the best answer we would give pre-K teachers and staff would be, as we conclude the 65 and above vaccinations for our elderly, and we conclude the K-12, then that's a decision for Dr. Mins to make on where that pre-K group sets. They are in phase 2, so they will be primed up soon. I'm not unclear if they take precedence over public safety or aircraft workers or all of the other populations within phase 2, because Dr. Mins has not given us that exact guidance yet.
Okay, so I guess I'm just asking the question for those teachers who have children in the pre-K range that would need daycare to get back to school to teach children. I'm just wondering how that is going to affect the pipeline. Maybe it won't, maybe it will, but I think that's something that needs to be addressed. So that's a question I think we all received, and thank you for answering it.
Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to follow up with some more clarification questions. I assume that substitute teachers would also be included.
Is that what, who?
Substitute teachers would also be included.
You know, if they're part of the school district's staffing plan, then yes. We look to the schools to tell us what their vaccination plan is, and all of them to some degree have plans. Some are, as Commissioner Lopez mentioned, 259s is very robust, but all others have plans as well. So it would depend on whether they have a substitute in the building so frequently that that would probably be considered staff or teacher, then they would probably be included. And if not frequently, then probably not. That would be a question I'd have to defer to the school districts.
And let me continue the same kind of question. And I think these ought to be clarified in writing somewhere at some point. But para teachers, if someone works in the classroom, they're a non-certified teacher assistant, a para teacher.
If they're in the classroom providing services to children along with teachers, they would be included.
And I assume that would be true. And you mentioned public and private schools. Does that mean they have to be an accredited private school, or do non-accredited private schools also qualify?
I think I'm going to look to Tim to give me a little support on that. I think that's accredited schools. And I was talking about things like independent, collegiate, some of those private entities out there. Tim, do you know the answer to that? Okay,
I have to get clarity from the state on that.
And I can certainly wait for the clarification, but I do think it's important. And there's also another group, I would say, it's like parents as teachers. Again, these are people who go into the school system to assist. So that might be included in my previous questions, but I just think we need to have some clarity about those types of things. We're certainly going to be asked by people, so we need to have some crisp written clarification, if that's okay.
Surely.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for the robust conversation. I would also point out that no matter what the number is, 40,000 or 80,000, that I assume the state's deducting something for all this teacher plan. So it's the real number of 18% might be somewhat less depending on how many they minus out to send to teachers. So with that, I don't see any other questions. So, or any other comments? So we will adjourn the special meeting and we will start the day. So we are hereby adjourned.